Hi, Olga here. The card I'm making today is meant for St. Valentine's Day, but can also be used for weddings, anniversaries, even for birthdays. The card is totally created with the dies. I have just used some cream and white cardstock plus a small piece of vellum. All the dies I'm going to use today are by Stamps, except the plain circle one. I have placed all the dies on my mat. It has a magnetic strip inside of it at the top, so very convenient for holding up the dies. I'm using a standard card base 4¼ by 5½ inches, and I'm going to die cut a circle window in it. You could see that the size of the circle matches the double stitched frame that I'm going to use. It's going right between the stitches. Now I have to open up the card base and I'm sending it through the die cutting machine. If you're interested in the tools and products that I'm using, they will be all listed on my blog as well as in the description. I have die cut 4 circle frames out of white cardstock. The die set is called double stitched circle frames. I'll be using a scallop die from Tall Ship set, also by Stamps, to create a wave line on that circle that I cut out of the card base. And now I'm going to assemble the circle medallion. I'm applying some liquid glue along the bottom edge of this die cut, and I'm placing the stitched frame on top of it. I've used the same die to cut out a circle out of vellum, and now I'm going to stick it at the back of the frame. The next thing I'm going to do is to stick 2 more circle die cuts on top of this existing one. With white on white or white on cream cards, this little added dimension does make a big difference. I'm placing an acrylic block to hold down the dies until the glue is dry. For my focal image, I'm going to use the Tall Ship die set again. I've die cut everything out of white cardstock, and now I'm going to assemble the ship. But before I do it, I'm going over the edges of all the sails with Spun Sugar Distress ink. This will add just a tiny hint of color. I'm using the picture on the packaging as a guide to find the position for each little sail. Working with multiple small die cuts like those might be a little bit time consuming, but I think that the result is well worth it. Those tiny details do add a lot of interest without being too overwhelming. To create a background, I'm going to use another die by Stamps. This one is called Gentle Hearts. Its shape is also reminding of the waves. The die creates a very pretty stitched line as well as adds some tiny negative heart images. For this project I'm going to die cut it 3 times, but if you want to keep your design minimalistic, 1 time will do. Now the card is ready to be assembled. So I am applying some liquid glue around the circle window, and I'm going to stick my circle medallion on top of it. Once again, I'm positioning an acrylic block on top of it to make sure that all the glued areas will be stuck. I'm also going to stick 1 more double-stitched circle frame at the wrong side of the card to cover up all the mess. This step is totally optional though. The sentiment die I'll be using is Little Luxe Love by Stamps. I've die cut it 3 times out of white cardstock, and I'm applying spun sugar onto one of the die cuts. I'm sticking all 3 die cuts one on top of another for more dimension, and I'm placing the pink one on top. Then I can attach this whole sentiment onto my card front. One more little thing that I'm gonna do is to flip over the card, and I'm going to inlay the 3 hearts that are overlapped by a sentiment. I think it will help the word to stand out more, and it just reads better this way. I'm also going to use the little hard die cuts left from the background. I'm going to attach 3 of them to the waves. And again, you can totally stop at this point, but I have decided to add even more little details and scatter those hearts randomly on top of my card. The multiple little details like those do add more interest and more texture without being too overwhelming. But that is because I have used almost no color for this card. I think that if I were using some vivid colors for this card, then this amount of detail would be too much. So this is how the finished card looks like. It has a lot of texture and dimension, but at the same time it's totally flat and mailing friendly. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you would like to see more, here are some projects that you might be interested in. Have a great day and happy crafting!